Hey ho! For some of y'all out there in the fantasy baseball world, the 2024 campaign is up and tough. So we are here to help you planning for the future in Dynasty League this week. In addition to our who's hot and who's not, go get them and go cut them segment. Before we begin, we always start our show by asking you the question, where else would you rather be than right here? Boom! Right now, Mike's on the left tonight. I'm on the right. He was a little early to the party, but you are looking live at our split studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now. Episode 5 is here for our show, part of the Ball9.com podcast network. Combined 70 years fantasy baseball experience. Mike and I are here to talk about some Major League Baseball with a fantasy spin. Mr. MD Nelly, how you be this evening?
I'm good. Getting ready to dive into Dynasty Fantasy Baseball. Potential players to look out for. It'll be fun.
You could have dyed your hair. I could have called you Le Grange Orange.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going for El Gato Grande.
On top of the topics previously discussed, be sure to catch our closing 5 segment with myself up this week for that always fun task. Feel free to offer comments during the show. We'll be happy to address them as we roll along this evening live. And we will be scoreboard watching because fate wasn't with me last night to give the White Sox yet another win over the Yankees. But that'd be really nice. I wouldn't mind that. To get the live reaction of Mike, especially after he just absolutely thrashed the White Sox organization last week. So
yeah, that went well. Hi, Dennis, the Sausage King. The Sausage King of Texas has joined us.
I want some of that Syracuse sausage with the getting with the fontanella cheese.
You want jalapeno cheddar. It's the greatest thing in the history of Earth. Well, as far as I can remember, it's been a little bit. He shirked his responsibility. He had a perfect opportunity to get continued plugs for the Syracuse Sausage Company of Denison, Texas. But however, he's not done. He's not done what he needs to do, which is kiss the ass of the hosts. It's just, it's a simple thing, right?
Here's a guy that lived with us in college, and yet he still carries on a relationship with us, so he gets points for that.
That's true.
Although we're a lot of fun.
We were, I guess.
Still are.
I guess I'm waiting for the VCR tapes to get converted to.
Anyhow, before we get started, big week. Give a shout out to El Jefe, the creator of Ball9.com. Chris Vitale had a pleasure of sitting on the lawn at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center with him last evening. Doobie Brothers, Steve Winwood. Mike, what do you call that tour?
See us before we're dead.
Pretty much.
There's a lot of it going on. See us before we die tour.
Pretty much. I was in the lower half of the age bracket, the average age, and I'm not young. So, but speaking of that, young baseball players who may be on the keeper horizon this year. Maybe you want to target early next year in your draft if they're in the pool, because they're going to be keepers by this time next year. We thought that'd be a nice little foray. Teams like me, I'm still trying to stage a miracle rally to win our league, but Mike kind of needed a parachute, so this is a good topic for him to speak on.
That's funny.
I thought so. I'm ad-libbing on that one. Anyhow,
don't.
You can have the floor. The American League.
So let's, before we do that, from a reference point. So Dynasty leagues come in many fashions, right? There's Keep 'em Forever, which is our league. Keep 'em Forever, right? We keep 5. Makes the season become year round. I'm in another league where you keep 6, but you can only have them for 3 years. I dug in a little bit to other various leagues. There are some leagues as large as 50 players. You have 50 rostered players, which is a 40-man roster basically plus 10.
Yep.
And so I I looked at it from the standpoint of our league. I didn't look at it in like the go into the worms and go down the wormhole and look for single A players that are, then you're really buying on futures at that point in time. And I just looked at guys, and I'm having a great week with picking guys out that I didn't think anybody was going to talk about or shouldn't be talking about. And they're like, this week's been right off. I shouldn't do this on Monday. I should have done it today. So I just looked at guys that were in AAA that could be called up in the next little bit.
Yep.
One of which should be and was called up. And then for guys that you may want to stash now if you have roster space. I mean, some leagues, if you have a 50-player roster, you don't worry about having a minor league player. We have a minor league player that's a free roster move, and that could be a keeper player. I think Jackson Howard fell into that this year, and I think Gunnar Henderson fell into it last year. So here's my 5, and the first one, my rant about the first one got curtailed on Monday when Junior Caminero finally got called up by Tampa Bay. 21 years old, played 7 games last year, third base shortstop. They'll probably play him at third right now. They have a little urgency to. They've been playing him at third a lot because they thought that the guy that can't get out of Dominican and probably will never get out of the Dominican Republic was going to be their shortstop of the future. But he's a guy to look out for. Average speed, going to hit for power. His power's definitely going to portray into the majors. The second guy is, and I hate to, it pains me to say this because they have so many good young players.
Red Sox lover.
But Marcelo Mayer, shortstop for the Red Sox, kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't get called up when Trevor Story got hurt. And David Hamilton's done a fine job. Marcelo Mayer is going to be a 20-25 home run, 20-25 stolen base guy, and he's a good shortstop. They've done a good job of developing shortstops over the years, and he may get a call up if they fall out. They keep teetering around a wild card, so he'll probably stay at AAA. Then the White Sox, Colin Montgomery. He'll probably end up being a third baseman when he gets called up. He really regressed like everybody else in that organization this year. He had a tear. He's had a really bad year.
Does he have curly red hair and can he putt?
He can. Yeah. As long as, or Colson Montgomery, as long as he doesn't call out Tiger Woods, and he'll be all right. Chase DeLauder from the Guardians. Excuse me. They he's another 22-year-old. He's a AA. He almost made the roster coming out of AAA. Out of spring training. He had a massive spring. He's had a semi-pedestrian season at AA, but he's going to hit for power in an organization that desperately needs to add power someplace at some point in time. And then finally, Ricky Tiedemann, who, if not for an injury, probably would have made the Blue Jays rotation coming out of spring training. He's a year stash. He had Tommy John in July, so he won't pitch very likely in the majors until 2026, unless he gets enough work in a couple of rehab starts and they suck like they look like they're going to for a while. He probably, he's definitely a futures, but he can throw. He can really throw. And there's a number of guys like to me, everybody's, you get all these baseball's not in the, baseball's in a better place. There's so many good young players, and there's so many good young players on the way and these college guys are ready to play in the majors within almost immediately. And teams are banking on that. These great college players, the teams are banking on that. They're not banking on having them in the minors for 3 years while they develop. They're banking on them being, if they're drafted in 24, being on the roster, if not at the end of this year, sometime next year, or starting the season with them in 26.
Yeah, I think you look at the draft, the recent draft, and you see a lot of the prospects here, and there's people that are going to be major league ready, a few potentially now, but next year for sure. The college game's definitely done a better job of developing players. I wonder if that becomes a little more of the trend rather than signing for the big leagues out of high school.
Well, that appears to be the Angels' approach, right? Zachary Neto spent very little time in the minors. Nolan Schaumel spent very little time in the minors. I can't recall off the top of my head who they drafted this year, but they're expecting him to get some at bats or to get a look in September. I mean, they might as well give it to him now. But I mean, what difference does it make?
Yeah, what's the point? I think on your list, my list is get a couple guys up to now. If you were a team rebuilding, and you say, look, I'm going to tear it all down, and I'm going to go out and get some young kids to go into next year for, Caminero is a good guy to have for now to carry over for next year. Don't even let him go into the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would consider like if I was depending on roster size and how many guys you're going to keep, like I would consider Mayer as a guy to grab now and think about saving him. I mean, he could be that good.
Yeah,
that's scary. Here we go again in the American League with this run of shortstops in the American League. Here we go, right?
What I found interesting about this exercise was you took the AL, I took the NL. The amount of American League players on top of these prospect lists is mind-blowing.
Yeah, you look at the top 100. It's the top 100 prospects, and I just looked at a re-rank today. Is it Kelby McDaniel on ESPN just did his top 100 prospects today? And it's largely American League players. It's the top 10. I think the top 10 is 8 American League players.
All right. That I mean,
and the Red Sox have 2 of them.
Maybe you'll have a Red Sox cap on next week.
Maybe. You know what? You could have given Jared Dern a standing ovation like he got tonight from those idiots in Boston after getting suspended for 2 days for saying something that we said our entire childhood.
Yeah, you know what? Look, interesting talk with the big man in Massachusetts last night. That's out there. Might as well address it, right? He shouldn't have said it. It's inexcusable. You can't say it. Now, look, that meathead in the stands yelling you need a tennis racket to your best player.
Well, you should have MF'd him, man. I saw this. I think our friend Nakayetti said this on the X. That like if you would have just called him an MFer, it would have like the guy would have been embarrassed and it would have been caught on a hot mic and that would have been the end of it. That would have been the end of it. He chose the wrong word. He definitely chose the wrong word. He showed up at his interview with a T-shirt that didn't really help, and then he gets a standing ovation tonight. So it's just like I get it. Like I get where the sensitivity comes from all of this. And it's more disappointing that the fuel gets fired, that fuel goes on the fire as a result of not acting the right way after it happens. Like that's really, it's a little disappointing. Like we got to be better than that as people. But, that said, I don't know. If he said it 15 years ago, nobody said boo.
You're right.
It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. It does not make it right by any stretch of the imagination.
But I thought they handled it right. Okay, he came out. He apologized. It was what it was.
They acted quickly. They acted quickly in a suspension. That's good work.
He didn't appeal it. Just hey, you shouldn't have done it. You're wrong. We all know you're wrong. Yeah, you got to be. And truthfully, you got to be above it. I mean, my God, I've went to enough games 30 years ago when I was young and stupid, as opposed to being old and stupid. Where I did everything I could. I'd go up to Expos games and go sit in left field and put down 8 or 9 Molson Bredors before the game started, and then go have a discussion with the opposing team's pitcher warming up at the bullpen. And most of it was profanity laced. But
except for Lee Smith when he was warming up in the bullpen, then we were all afraid of him.
He was a big man.
He's a large human being.
Speaking of large human beings, well done, my friend. Let's go to the National League. James Wood in our keeper league in its 35th year is not going to be available on the draft wire for some time. He's in our league. Crushers Baseball has him. I tried to get him a couple months ago. 6'7", 21 years old. He's heating up now. His last 21 heading into the week, 279 with 2 homers, 13 RBIs. He had a big day the other day. So he's going to lead that, I think, next wave. I like what the Nationals have going on. They got some good young players coming through.
They got a nice little outfield. They got a nice little outfield going there because you got another guy on your list that's part of that.
Another guy on the list. Before I get to him, Jackson Chourio, I actually had him on my team for 2 weeks this year, but I needed now. I couldn't wait. So I had to deal him. He's another guy. If he's out there, if he's in your draft next year, get him early. If you're in a keeper league, get him early. He's only 20, and he's now found his groove in Milwaukee. Again, last 21, that's my number. That's my gauge. Not enough time to say it's a small streak or a small slump. 4 homers, 10 RBIs heading into the week with 4 steals. And, oh, by the way, 347 batting average. He's 20. He's gotten it figured out. He's another guy. You go into an open draft next year, don't wait. And I think the next guy I think it's going to be interesting for a few years as Paul Skeens continues to develop. Chase Burns, the first-round pick for the Reds, second pick overall this year. He's not going to debut this year, apparently, in the organization. They're going to wait till 2025. Big-time fastball that can get up to 100, got a slider, got a change. They said if any pitcher in this draft was going to be the Paul Skeens of this class, it's Chase Burns from Wake Forest. He's another guy. If you're going to get him early next year in your draft because he may get fast-tracked. He's got some innings on his arm from the college game. He's more major league ready than a lot of players that are going to be starting off pro ball next year. So he's a guy to look for. He can bring it, and he's got good off-speed stuff to mix. So just another arm for the Reds, and maybe they can try and figure out what to do with him when they come up. Dylan Cruz, he'll be up there with James Wood before long. Big career at LSU, 58 homers, 980 plus plate appearances with a good strikeout rate. Not going to go up and kill you there. So part of that youth movement in Washington. And then the other guy, and the reason I ranked Ethan Salas, the catcher in San Diego, is his defense. If you read his bios, his defense is so good, they think he may be in the bigs by the time he's 20. And he's 18 now. He projects to be a 25 home run type at a weak position at catcher. But it reminds me, I'm not saying he's Pudge Rodriguez, but almost a similar trajectory where the defense is going to get him up and then see how the bat comes around.
I've seen Benito Santiago's name attached to him too because he's athletic.
Yep.
So no Charlie Condon. You didn't rank Charlie Condon. If I was doing the National League, he probably would have been number 1 for me.
Why is that?
Because he's going to hit 9,000 home runs in Colorado, and he's going to be up, and he's very likely going to be their starting third baseman next year.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I was going to when we were texting, I was going to put Jackson Merrill on that list, but I think Jackson Merrill's kind of past that kind of ranking for us because he's had such a great year.
Yeah,
that he's already on his way. So as far as being a keeper caliber player,
the dude's making Gold Glove plays in center field, and he moved there because they didn't have room for him at shortstop.
That's crazy.
The kid can play. He's like Chourio to me. He found his groove about this. Like they've really, since the All-Star break, they've kind of matured into being in the majors and started to play. I mean, if you want to go deep into the wormhole, there's AA guys, and there are a lot of teams, especially with pitchers, that are making the jump from AA to AAA. But I mean, if you're in a dynasty league, I know you know this. Like you're looking at those players and you're paying attention to the minors and you're trying to get ahead of it. And you're reading, if you're on CBS, you're reading the Prospect Watch, and If you're on ESPN, you're reading the Prospect Watch, and if you're on any of the other services, like you're following these guys and trying to get the edge of when am I going to hear about this guy. I mean, our league is pretty good at keeping an eye on younger talent, so it's a little bit of a race as they start to get closer to the majors to grab them if you don't already have them.
Yep.
And then you forget like Junior Caminero, you forget that he's on somebody's roster because of that minor league spot. You just forget about it, right? You forget all about it, and then you're like, oh, geez, Junior Caminero's finally coming up. Like the Rays, I guess they finally got to the service time manipulation point with him that they feel like they need to call him up. And you're like, oh crap, he's been in our league since day one. He was in our league drafted as a minor player.
Yeah. Hey, before we get to the who's hot, who's not, the NL West blows my mind. Let's spend a couple minutes on them.
You think?
The D-backs I thought were dead and buried.
Told you.
And the Padres just seem like they're just not ready yet. The Dodgers have Mookie Betts back. They've won 5 in a row, and yet their lead over Arizona and San Diego is just 3. How big of a disaster would it be for the Dodgers to finish 3rd in their division?
Monumental. So the Diamondbacks and the Padres are both, after wins today, are both 18-3 in their last 21.
That's crazy.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Nobody's talking about them. I mean, people talk more about the Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to always get all the attention. Walker Buehler's pitching tonight for the Dodgers. They already have a lead. Mookie being back does help them for sure, but it would be a monumental collapse. It'd be. I mean, their payroll is $8 gazillion.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohtani's probably going to win National League MVP.
Yep.
I mean, I get they've had injuries, but regardless of whether they've had injuries or not, their bullpen's been a mess. Dave Roberts is an idiot. He's not a good manager because managers show themselves during times of adversity, and he can't manage anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to bash a team 71-49, but
yeah, but they should have a. We both thought they were going to win the West in a walkover.
Yeah,
and it's not the case. I mean, the Padres fixed their bullpen, obviously. I knew the Diamondbacks were going to be back to being the Diamondbacks because they're just too good. They're just too good. And now they got Eddie Rodriguez back, and Montgomery's pitching well. He pitched well today. They got Merrill Kelly back. They got their full rotation.
Allen's back. He was hurt for a while.
They screwed around with their bullpen again. Another year, it's going to be the same thing. Diamondbacks in the World Series, they fix their bullpen. But, they shuffle a bunch of guys around, and they're a fun team. They're a fun team to watch. Padres are a fun team to watch, and Tatis is hurt.
Yeah.
So just imagine like what that's going to look like. And Manny Machado's been really, really good for a month, and that hurts me to say that because I'm not a Manny Machado fan, probably because I wanted him to be on the Yankees, but I'm not a big fan of Manny Machado, but he's been really, really good offensively. But their pitching, I mean, Dylan Cease got pounded the other night.
Yep.
I mean, the other night, was it Monday night? Monday night and Tuesday night were not good nights for some pretty premier pitchers. George Kirby, not so great.
Yeah.
I watched the Braves and Giants, and I watched Snell and Sale, and that was unbelievable. Snell was 6 no-hit innings to start the game. So you had a 15-inning no-hit streak going. Sale was spectacular.
Yeah.
It ended up being a 1-0 game in 10 innings. I could watch 100 of those games.
Absolutely.
I love those games.
Absolutely.
It doesn't help for fantasy. The only help I got for fantasy was that I had Snell. But when you've got offensive players, obviously you want like 7-6 and all the runs to be scored after the 7th inning. That's what you really want.
5x5 league, I'll take it. But George Kirby with a double nut shot on my head-to-head team last night. I'm playing a team that's like 18-1 or whatever his record is. And
so George Kirby and Imanaga get traded going into the scoring period in our league.
yes,
And between them combined, they went like 8 innings and 20 earned runs.
Apparently there was a scoring change on Kirby. It was 11 earned runs last night, probably about this time, and I think I heard today it got changed down to 6. There was a scoring.
Well, they made there were apparently they were all earned, and even the Mariners people were like, wow, I don't know how they're all earned because we were terrible in the field. They didn't give them any help.
All right, so he's too late to do on the who's not, but maybe we'll watch him again and we'll save that. So,
yeah.
Anywho, who's hot, who's not? You, as always, take the lead off, my friend.
So, I don't know how Bailey Ober's not 100% owned on CBS. In his last 4 starts, all quality starts, 4 wins, a 1.29 ERA, and a .57 WHIP.
It's pretty good.
In Minnesota. And that's probably why he's not 100% owned, because nobody pays attention to him. He does strike a lot of guys out, but when you're getting 3 categories out of a guy, you got to consider grabbing him. And then who's not? And here we go again, right? Junior Caminero. Watch him. He gets called up on Monday. Jake Cronenworth in his last 28 games was 208, a homer, and 12 RBIs. And it's hard to bench a guy that qualifies for first base and second base. And then what's he done so far this week? He's just like he's back to hitting again. Of course, I benched him because he sucked, because I had him when he sucked. And he's a guy to watch, though, because when Tatis comes back, there could be some challenges. There could be some challenges with how much he actually plays, because he's been sliding back and forth a little bit between second and first, and against a tough lefty, he gets a day off, and he may lose some at bats. He may lose some at bats when and if Tatis comes back.
Okay. All right. If you need steals, no one's hotter than Xavier Edwards of the Marlins, middle infielder. 5 steals in just his last 3 games. Last 21 ranked 7th in CBS. 13 runs, 14 steals in his last 21 games, and a paltry 384 batting average. I'd love to go try and swing a deal for him because I could use a guy like that. I'd have to move Altuve, who I just loathe, but he's helping me. So tough to do. I can't fit him in, but that would be pretty nice. And who's not? National League Rookie of the Year in 2021, Jonathan India, going into this week, hitting 109 in his last 21 with 1 homer, and that homer also gave him his only RBI during that stretch.
He's got 2 tonight. So
2 what? 2 home runs?
2 homers tonight.
Did he see my notes? Knew I was going to call him out?
He did. Him and Jay Cronenworth are like, those 2 bastards. Don't tell me I'm not hot.
I digress. Sorry, Jonathan. I'm glad I could wake you up.
Maybe he's streaming this while he's in the dugout right now.
Yeah, right? Is he streaming like Jonathan? If you're watching, comment.
Yeah, please comment.
Glad you got your tennis racket out.
Yeah, and Xavier Edwards, like Tim Anderson, we hardly knew you.
Yeah,
we could do an entire show on the Marlins hitters right now, because since they gutted their team, they're playing good ball. They're playing really good ball. It could have been Bride, it could have been Berger, it could have been Sanchez, it could have been any of those guys, and they're all hitting since that team got gutted. They're all hitting.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. You look at the hot teams. The A's are one of the hottest teams in baseball since the All-Star break.
Unbelievable.
I don't know.
They're also hitting.
They're hitting a lot.
Though Paul Blackburn forgot what uniform he was wearing the other night, and that didn't help.
Paul Blackburn was going to be my Who's Hot player before yesterday's start. I actually had everything queued up for him, and then I read his stat line when I was at the concert last night. I'm like, note to self, change your Who's Hot player for the week, because it sure as shit ain't Paul Blackburn.
Yeah.
Then I got to suffer with him another start this week against the suddenly surging Marlins. Anything you start chasing wins and chasing categories, it's just these moves you make. It's painful.
You spend more time looking at your bench and questioning everything that you ever thought you knew, because you're overthinking, my friend, which is a stretch for you, but you're definitely overthinking.
I did bench Seth Lugo, though, for last night's rough outing. So
got him in. I was going to mention
I got that one right.
I think our boy hit a wall.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it. He's struggled five his last 7, I think.
Yeah, since the All-Star break, not great.
Yeah, you kind of ride that hot hand as long as you can, and then don't be afraid to get off too. So
we're still hanging around, though.
Yeah, they are. They won again today.
Hanging around. The Twins and Guardians. The Guardians had a bad stretch, and the Twins and the Royals and the Guardians are like kind of the same as the NL West. It's like a 3-game, like within 3 games of each other. It's starting to get fun.
Yeah, they're hanging in there. I like that Royals team. I enjoyed watching their game this afternoon.
Yeah, the Pirates, on the other hand, not so much. They have imploded.
Where'd they go? Let me take a quick look at them. Oh, there they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're back to they're 8 games under, and they were they might have lost like 7 out of 9. Diamondbacks won the series from them. They just got swept by the Padres. The Dodgers, I think they might have they lost 6 in a row.
Who, the Pirates?
Did the Dodgers sweep them?
The Pirates are in their last 10 games, 0-10.
Yeah. So they got swept. So they got swept by the D-backs. They got swept by the Dodgers. They got swept by the Padres.
Yeah.
I guess the NL West is not treating the Pirates very well.
All righty. Who should you get, and who should you submit to the waiver wire in hopes that one of your fellow owners picks him up and finds out the hard way?
Yeah. So Austin Wells, I can't believe, with the combination of Yankee lovers and Yankee haters, which is 50-50, it seems, in every league that's not an NL-only league, the fact that he's only 47% owned at a position that's not spectacular.
Yeah.
Like in the last 28, he's 333 with 2 homers and 13 RBIs. And he's hitting cleanup in a lineup where he's going to drive in runs. Though the way Soto's homering, and he did again tonight, he's not going to get as many opportunities. But you got to go get him. And I had him, and I let him go, and because I drafted him, and he was awful. And he may be like Churio and Merrill. Right here we are, right? He's finally in a half a full season, starting to figure it out. He's a good defensive catcher. He's going to catch every day with Trevino hurt. And then cut him. And though he did have a decent start tonight, I mean, Dean Kramer, I mean, come on, really? Like, first of all, you're on a team that scores a zillion runs. And you're 0-4 in your last 4 starts with a 5.66 ERA and a 1.6 whip. And you're still 43% owned. Like, why? Don't.
He's funny. I had him last year for a stretch, and he's one of those guys. He looks pretty good, and then he'll have that bad inning.
Yeah.
And he'll build off that bad inning, and next thing you know, you got a bad start.
He doesn't fight through any adversity at all.
Yeah.
And he's going to have the bad inning. So if you know you're going to have the bad inning, it's another one of those guys. If you're going to put him on your bench and you're never going to start him, then why have him? Go get one of these kids we just talked about and stick him on your bench. If you don't need to play him, why have him?
Yep.
You're not going to trade him. I mean, you got to be an idiot. I mean, even the Boogers, Mr. Oreo, wouldn't trade for. Well, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. Now he's trying to win.
He is heavily recruiting me to have the Orioles win the fan free agency, by the way. Heavy.
Really?
Yeah. He is.
Front runner.
Yeah.
front runner.
Maybe.
I think the Rockies would actually be the right choice for you.
No.
Your sister's out there, your mom's out there. They
Great
suck.
stadium.
They're a clueless
Great
organization.
stadium.
It'd be the easiest lateral move for you as a fan ever.
Great stadium. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Been there.
That's why it doesn't matter, because people, they're going to draw just because of that ballpark.
Yeah, it's a great ball. Have you ever been there?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. Great sight lines. Everything's good about it. It's been a while for me. I think my first time there, I went up to grab myself a couple of beers, and I was walking down the stairs, and I got stopped by the usher. She goes, "Excuse me, sir, can you please wait to go down the stairs?" And this might happen more than I realized. I said, "Can I ask why?" She goes, "Well," and I'm down the left field line. I'm halfway between the dugout and the foul pole. She goes, "Well, we ask people not to walk them down the stairs when the hitter is batting."
Yeah, that's everywhere now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just said, look, I'm used to going to the games in Yankee Stadium where they encourage us to throw batteries at people, but okay, that's fine. I'm good with the rules. I'm a rule follower.
Yeah.
Go get him. Zebby Matthews, if you've not heard of him, major league debut last night, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, 5 hits. It almost sounds like the sightline 14 strikeouts, Zebby Calvin Lelouch, but Zebby Matthews of the Twins. The stat that jumps out with that start last night, 0 walks. Why is that important? In the minors this year, 2.6 ERA, a strikeout walk rate in 97 innings, 114-7.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, he's throwing the ball over the plate. They're hit, but his ERA is pitching to a 2.6 ERA.
Surprised he's not a closer.
You know, and they got injuries in Minnesota with Paddock out and Ryan probably being out for the year. He's already in our league, unfortunately, because I looked. But just a guy to look for, and he had a good outing last night in his first start. Beat Cy Young Seth Lugo. So Zebby Matthews of the Twinkies, get a look at him, and if you got a roster spot, go get him. Cut him. Look, I don't hold on to closers that lose their job. Especially on one that's on a team that's probably not making a run in the playoffs, but Camilo Duvall, the Giants, 5 blown saves, a whip of 1.61. Hello, Sacramento, AAA. Again, those guys, you don't just get your job back. You got to earn it. You got to work your way back. And by the time, if and when that happens with him, Ryan Walker's pitching pretty good there. He's not going to do anything that's going to help you for this year.
I might not cut him.
No?
Even though he's in the minors. I may just hold him on my bench. Just in case they fight, scratch, and claw, as they're prone to do, and he figures it out in AAA, and he comes back up. He could be back in that job in short order.
You think so?
Yeah.
His history says yes, but some guys just lose it, or they just have bad years.
Yeah, Kenley Jansen's got 400 saves, and he should have been outrighted 35 times. I mean, Jesus. Craig Kimbrell's still blowing saves, and he's still the closer. I think maybe Sir Anthony Dominguez has that job for the moment in Baltimore, but like these dudes hang around, and once they've got the pedigree. Speaking of that, while we're on closers, I saw a side-by-side 4-year comparison of Mariano Rivera and Clase from the Guardians today.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Like, talk about being in rarefied air. First 4 seasons as closers. That's what the comparison was. And Mo was 7.9 strikeouts per 9. And Clase is 9.7.
Wow.
And their whip is almost identical. Their save to blown save ratio is almost identical. And their ERA is almost identical. It's crazy. We'll see if we can do it for 15 years, but
yeah, it's a different trick.
Yeah, it's a different. I mean, right. I mean, you want to be You want to be Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, you can't do it for 4. You got to do it for a long, long time. But his trajectory is scary. The comparison is scary.
Breaking news. The White Sox have pushed across a run, now lead the Yankees 2-1 in an effort to win the series over Mike Yankees. Just an update.
So I'm going to change the subject and explain why I'm wearing the Expos hat.
Yeah, what, Mike? Why are you wearing the Expos cap?
So this is the 30th anniversary. August 12th was the 30th anniversary of the strike of 1994, which led us to the steroid era where baseball was saved. And that was probably the year that the Expos were going to win a World Series, their only World Series.
Very possible.
They were like Felipe Alou had that team. They were unbelievable. That team was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Then the strike happens. They dismantle the team because the salary structure changed. Sosa and McGuire saved baseball under Bud Selig's watch, and everybody, these guys, blah, blah, blah. We go through the steroid thing forever. And then they dismantle the team, and the next thing you know, they're in Washington. So I'll never not have a soft spot for the Expos because it was the closest place for me to go see baseball growing up, starting from, with Jerry Park and the times that you and I spent together in Olympics, L'Stade Olympique. And
Two blue.
Yeah,
Two blue. Easy to order.
And
your beer mat and come up and down those stairs.
Such great teams, man. Such great teams. So much fun to go to games there. And the fact that like Nashville's falling for the trap already, I can see it, and that they're not going to have a team. It's still, and they're still one of the top 2 or 3 baseball team follows on Twitter without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like they're incredibly active on Twitter. But this is a shout out to the 94 Expos, and the 94 Expos probably had 11 or 12 players that were close to untradeable in our fantasy league at that time, including that was a time when I was lobbying for total bases to be a category because Tim Wallach, the total base machine.
Tim Wallach
would have been. I mean, Boggs was the guy, but without a doubt. But when you started looking at total bases, Tim Wallach was equally as prolific as Wade Boggs. He just didn't hit 358.
Yeah.
But he hit for more power and hit a million doubles. And Tim Wallach was a really good player, along with all, the Vladdy Daddy on that team. And, that team, you go through a litany of guys that are in the Hall of Fame and their ties to Montreal, starting with Roberto Clemente. You start with Roberto Clemente playing in Montreal, and then Jackie Robinson playing in Montreal, and you look at those guys, but then you start looking at the Pedros and the Randy Johnsons and the Larry Walkers and Rock Raines and guys that started their career in Montreal that were sold off.
Yep.
Because they couldn't afford to pay him or wouldn't afford to pay him. Little Tampa Bay-ish in that regard. Andre Scalaraga. I mean, they've had some great Gato Grande. They've had some great players, and the greatest name ever pronounced in Jerry Park, John Baccabella.
All right, you ready for the closing 5?
I am. Bring it on, man.
You're gonna like this. Commissioner Clown Fred, he can take a few minutes to stop trying to screw the good fans of Oakland, California, because he has a decision to make now with the Olympics now welcoming back baseball in 28 in LA. And you've heard some MLB guys say, man, wouldn't that be awesome to play? I don't know how you do that. Do you take a 2-week break? WNBA did it, but that's different. Sorry, but it is. That's a tough question. I don't know how you do that, but it would be great to see because the World Baseball Classic, the last time they had it, was a thing, and it was great. And they got another one coming in 26. Good springboard to the Olympics. I hope they do find a way. I think, given that Commissioner Clownfred is an absolute fool and doesn't really care or love this game, has no passion for it, I'm skeptical. But I would like to see them find a way to make that happen. That'd be a lot of fun. AL MVP race. I saw a poll the other day on MLB.com saying, do you vote for Judge or Bobby Witt? I said, no. Jose Ramirez is your AL MVP. The guards are 71-49. He's filling a stat sheet. Nod your head this way, up and down, buddy. Jose Ramirez is filling that stat sheet every single night. He's the MVP of the American League. Sorry, Judgy, Soto, the rest of those guys. They're all great. They're all having great years, Bobby Witt, but Ramirez is the guy. I need to give props to my co-host. He kept Hunter Green in our 5x5 Roto League this year. And I'm like, really? Wow, what a reach. What a reach. No, not a reach. That dude's unbelievable. He can pitch, good foresight. To me, you took a chance on a guy that you probably could have drafted in the first or second round. But our league's a little tough at being a keeper league. And people see young kids like that with promise. They may overdraft them. But kudos to MD Nelly for saving Hunter Green. It's not something I would have done. I'm not the best at having the young players on my team and cultivating that talent. I usually trade them before they get good. But nice work there.
Thank you.
Partner. Okay. Look,
it doesn't distract me from your previous take, by the way.
My previous correctness. Look, Hal Steinbrenner, and especially with Juan Soto homering again tonight. If the Yankees don't sign Juan Soto, if they let him go into free agency, it's the worst move in that franchise. I don't know when. I can't even imagine the last time they moved this stupid. If they allow that to happen, knowing that Steve Cohen is sitting right across town, who makes the most money in baseball right now? Do you know? I don't.
Team-wise?
Shohei? No, one player. Shohei?
Yeah, Shohei.
Okay, I was told the third. But...
Judge is second.
Okay. Steve Cohen's got the cash. He can pay Juan Soto any amount he wants to just to get him in there. He's 25. The Yankees cannot let Juan Soto go to free agency because Steve Cohen could offer him, $70 million a year? Who cares, right? He'll pay for himself. So the Yankees not having Juan Soto locked up to me is just egregious. You can give me your take on that one before I get to my favorite one of the night.
No, keep going. I'm going to hit them all.
Okay. So thank God for the mute button on the remote. I'm going to tell you why. Last week when I booted the Yankees out of my fan free agency search, I cited the fact that I can't really watch their games. I can't listen to them. And the radio, forget about it. I saw a clip of Michael Kay's radio show last week that was so stupid. I thought it was an AI-generated meme as a joke. Seriously. Before I decided to talk about this, I talked about it on Levac and Gaz on Monday when I did my guest shot. I had to do research on it because it was so dumb, so stupid, that I thought it was a joke. For those that missed it, Michael Kay suggested on his radio show that MLB should let teams recalibrate their lineups for the ninth inning of games. Hey, tell me that your team you cover has two hitters without saying it, right? That is so stupid. And then his analogy was, well, it'd be like the NFL taking Pat Mahomes off the floor, off the field in the fourth quarter, or LeBron James and Jalen Brunson and Steph Curry not being able to play the fourth quarter because you want your stars when the game's on the line. Yeah, McFly, that's so dumb. That's all I can call it.
So the other take that was part of that, and you're 100% right, it was buffoonish, is he also suggested that the Yankees would be better served to spend the entirety of their payroll from an offensive side on two guys and then just filling around. That you can win with two guys. And that's what led to the discussion of the recalibration.
Okay.
So not only is Michael Kay, who was a tremendous writer, he was a tremendous writer. Tremendous. Cover the Yankees Forever was excellent at that. Not only is he a terrible baseball announcer, terrible.
He is bad.
And a shill for yes in the Yankees.
Without question.
And then that take? Come on. Like, really? Like, make the bet, go back to the regular size bases, let the ship come back in, but you get to recalibrate your lineup in the ninth inning? You got to be shitting me. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard. I'm going to go in reverse order. Boomer Esiason today. So I hit that one. Boomer Esiason today said that the Yankees aren't going to sign Soto because they're not going to have a contract larger than Judge's. Do you think that Aaron Judge cares if Juan Soto gets paid more than him? No. Do you think that Derek Jeter really in his soul cared that A-Rod was making more money than him? No. You know why? They just want to win championships. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life.
No cup of tea either. He's not very bright.
It's just stupid. You got to sign him. He loves playing for the Yankees. I don't think he'd play for the Mets. I just don't. I think he'd be playing right field for the Dodgers. I mean, or the Giants would go all in. But he's going to get the bag no matter what. And he is 25 years old, and he is that good, and he is probably going to finish in the top 5 for MVP. Hunter Green, thank you. Your MVP take, you're a fucking idiot. For 50 minutes, I went without cursing. 50 minutes. A new record for me. A new life record. This is a life record for me. 50 minutes without cursing. You are a fucking idiot. The Yankees have 2 offensive players. One of them's having closing in on a potential triple crown season. And Jose Ramirez always is going to finish second or third in the MVP because that's the way it is. Actually, the comparison to your point, and no disrespect to Bobby Witt, who's having an amazing season, and we'll have many, many more of these. The Ramirez Judge comparison is the one that should be made. That's the one that we should be seeing all the time, not Witt and Judge, because lose me with and stop posting WAR for shortstops because it's the most important position on the field. So stop. I don't want to hear the WAR thing.
Stop posting WAR. It's
WAR
dumb.
sucks. What's it good for? Nothing. Not good for anything.
Keith Law blocked me on Twitter.
It's good for arbitration. Stop posting it.
Keith Law made it up so he could get job security, and it worked. But it's
exactly
dumb.
So the Olympic thing is the one that I'm most interested in of all this, because the right players are the ones that are saying that they want to play.
Yes.
And Manfred is proposing to take a 2-week break around the Olympics so that Major League Baseball players can participate for their countries. And given the fact that it's in Los Angeles, there's even more impetus to do that. It's very difficult for the United States to host the Olympics, get a sport in, and not win it. That's not how the plan is supposed to go. And the new sports are baseball, softball, cricket, squash, and lacrosse for 2028, with skateboarding and surfing staying. But it's very easy to do. Play traditional doubleheaders. You can play traditional doubleheaders. It's not like old school where you buy a ticket, you get 2 games. Play day-night doubleheaders. You can do it. You play day-night doubleheaders. You start a series on Sunday instead of on Monday. You can make it. They can, if they, you play Saturday afternoon games. You have one Saturday primetime game. They can make this happen. Like they can absolutely make it happen. They can make the All-Star break. They can make the All-Star break 3 weeks. It's already closing in on a week now. I mean, somehow, some way, I figure like our league will end up with a 1-day scoring period, which will make me want want to close my head in my car door, but but that's another conversation. But he can't be that blind and that stupid to be a person that all he ever talks about is wanting to grow the game and everything he wants to do to grow the game and miss this opportunity in 2028. He can't. He can't. I mean, it is Rob Manfred we're talking about, so the possibility exists that he will, but he can't. The fans want to see it. Baseball fans want to see it. You want a World Baseball Classic during the Olympics? It'd be the greatest thing. It'd be the greatest thing in the Olympics.
Yes, it would.
It would be it would be phenomenal. And the world would be watching, and it would grow the game globally, where it's already trying to grow a little bit. Like it's starting to grow in the African continent. It's starting to grow in Europe. You want to really grow it. You want to grow it in Russia. You want to grow it in China. Show Korea and Japan and how good they are. You want to grow it more, and you want Venezuela to roll that team out that they have. You want to see the DR and Puerto Rico with those teams. You want to see that the passion that they show during the World Baseball Classic when they're not ready to play. Like they're not ready to play when the World Baseball Classic. Like these guys will be peak ready.
Correct.
Probably lose some guys to injury, but you'll have your disposal of everyone. Like Paul Skeens on the bump for Game 1 for the United States. Like, are you kidding me?
You look at Team USA men's basketball and the women, for quite frankly, because the world's caught up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But you saw in that Serbia game, which was as good a basketball game as I've ever watched.
Yeah.
You saw the best players in the world for Team USA playing with fire, playing with passion. They had to dig deep to win that game, and they did it. And then they come back in the gold medal game, and Steph Curry just absolutely cements his.
Never seen anything like that in my life.
And that's what you want for your sport. That grows.
The women's game, the women's final, equally as a phenomenal a basketball game as you're ever going to watch because they were playing. Because France was playing for more than themselves.
Yep.
And they're the host nation. They get both teams in the finals. Neither team was picked to be in the finals, like in the pre-tournament rankings, and that's exactly what would happen with baseball. Now they're going to play softball in Oklahoma City at that unbelievable complex that the NCAA College World Series is played. But that's going to be we should be really, really good in the college and in the Olympics and softball, but that's another sport where the world's starting to catch up. I mean,
without seeing rosters, obviously, I don't know if Team USA would be the favorite because there's so many good countries on in baseball. It'd be a war. Here's my concern: is the Major League Baseball is so inept that they'll find a way to screw this up.
Yeah, you know how it'll get screwed up? It'll get screwed up because if they don't do it, like players from the DR and Puerto Rico are going to leave their teams to play in the Olympics.
They could.
They'll forfeit the money. They're already making plenty.
Yep.
Like if Juan Soto's getting $70 million a year and he loses $6 million in suspension because he left to go play in the Olympics, does it really matter in the grand scheme of things when he's got 8 more years of full contract to deal with it? He's going to get 12 or 13-year deal, 10 minimum. So like it's like I'm going to lose money if I don't play for my contract thing is not going to impact these guys because the money is such at this point that like what are they really giving up? It's not the 50s where they were working in the winter as insurance salesmen and milk truck drivers to make money to pay to feed their families. We're not there anymore. Like they're like we're not there. And I saw a little blurb on a 94 strike, and one of the reasons was revenue sharing. And the average MLB salary in 1994 was $377,000.
Wow.
It's got to. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to look it up. It's got to be 5 times that now, minimum.
Yeah, let me look that up before we cut loose. That's a good point. Average salary MLB player on June of 2024, $4.98 million.
Yeah, 1,000+%. You know, a 1,300% increase in 30 years, and you think they're going to care if they leave for 2 weeks to play for their country? They're not. And these guys, you just to your point, the passion and how they play in the WBC is, there's zero reason not to have major league players playing in the Olympics.
Correct.
Because there's got to be some level of pride. There's got to be some level of pride from a country standpoint. And you would think that Manfred would get this. Like, you know, baseball was founded here. Right? Baseball was founded here. Like, you got to win the Olympics in your home country. Like, and let the players play let them play. When was the last time I saw a Mark McGwire Team USA Olympic card? Was that 94 or 98?
88, I think.
88.
No.
88.
No, it might have been 84.
You know what? You're right. 40 years ago.
I think it was the 87 Rookie of the Year.
And that team was loaded. But like to see some of these guys, and it always happens on the Team USA side where, and it'll happen to some extent in Puerto Rico and Venezuela and Dominican Republic, where they've got dual citizenship, and you know, Didi Gregorius playing for the Netherlands, right? You know, Lars Nootbaar playing for Japan, like stuff like that you'll see that there will be major league, you know, a large group. Italy will be loaded with Italian players, and Germany, if they were to qualify, because you've got all these kids that were born on military bases that could use that as their country, or their mother might be, you know, just like Duplantis' mom's the world record holder in a pole vault, Swedish. I mean, he went to LSU and he grew up in Louisiana, but he's jumping for Sweden because at the time that was the place that he thought would be the best place for him to make the Olympic team. So it'd be a massive miss. It'd be a massive miss. And if we're any good at what we do, we would have an Olympic fantasy league for 2 weeks.
That would be fun.
It'd be like playoff football. I mean, it'd be fun. It would be fun. You draft them once. There's no redraft. You got them while you got them.
All right. That'll work. Well, on that note, hasta, I don't know how to say see you next week in Spanish, so I'll just say hasta la vista.
Hasta next week.
There we go. Done. All right.
Dennis. Thanks, Dennis, for not bringing us sausage. Thanks, Ball 9, for supporting us as always. And Ball 9 will also work for sausage, apparently, which is interesting.
Absolutely.
Thanks to those of you that tuned in. Hopefully you got a little bit of advice. I don't know why you'd listen to us. Maybe Costanza this and do the opposite, because that seems to be our track record. I did think about this. I'm going to do a get 'em, cut 'em recap of the entirety going back to Pugsley's Pit. I'll find them all. And at some point, we will do a show dedicated to how dumb and smart we were. And I put them in that order on purpose, because the stardom sit 'em thing is subjective based on raw data. The go get 'em, cut 'em thing, not as much. There's a little emotion tied to that.
Yeah, Jonathan India making me look. The word of the night, stupid. STOOPID.
With two O's.
2 O's. All right, man.
Always fun.
We out.
See ya.
La Grande Rush.